All right, and we're live. Patrick here back with another episode of the Art Marketing Podcast, continuing on in our customer interview series. And thrilled to have Art Storefront's customer and friend who I just met, who might actually be one of the most interesting men in the world after we get into his story here. But I'm joined today by Kenneth LeRose from his Jeep with his dog. And where are you right now anyway?
Yeah, I'm actually like pulling my Airstream. I'm right outside of my office, which is happens to be Starbucks. That's where
Yeah.
I get most of my work done.
Yeah.
And there's Sabu back there, and he chills in the car, and I get him a puppuccino, and he deals with it.
And he deals with it. He loves it.
Yeah.
That's how we go. Well, I can't wait to get into your story, which is really, really interesting. And Kenneth, just for a quick, check this out, is absolutely crushing it right now on Instagram. And I'll let him get into how he lives and what he's doing, but you can see a sampling of his work over here, or above, I should say. Has some just absolutely stunning images. This one, dude, is just, that's a showstopper right there. That's an Instagram scroll showstopper. I mean, the places you've been has been absolutely staggering. But give us a little bit of the origin story. How'd you get into photography? How did it all get started? And kind of where you are today?
Yeah. Well, I picked up a camera about 9 years ago, and 7 years ago, I decided I was going to live in that little Airstream that you could see through that foggy PNW window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it was just kind of like I picked up a camera. I started doing fitness photography because for 15 years I was a professional bodybuilder. I was very competitive, did that regularly, did a bunch of wacky stuff for work that I don't know if we're
Mm-hmm.
going to get into here. Maybe we should. But yeah, then I shifted into photography. My girlfriend at the time was like, "Hey, you should take some pictures of landscapes." And I just kind of was like, why would I do that? Like, it just seems so boring taking pictures of mountains, because like you grab your phone and you see something, these big mountains, and you take a photo and you're just like, oh, that doesn't represent what I'm seeing. Like, it's so much bigger and it feels, more immense with
Mm-hmm.
my eyeballs. And then I took a photo in San Francisco one day of the Golden Gate Bridge, and it looked like one of those photos that these professional photographers take. And I was like, oh, I need to learn how to do this. And so I became obsessed with learning landscape photography, which then led me into astrophotography. And yeah, as soon as I hit the road 7 years ago, I had to figure out how I was going to make an income. And I've always loved teaching. So I thought, hey, maybe I can teach people how to photograph things like the stars and landscapes. And so I put my feeler out, and then I sold out my first workshop, and then I realized, like, holy crap, I have to figure out how to teach these people. Like, they're gonna feel duped when they show up, because like,
Yeah.
I've never done this before, And
Classic imposter syndrome.
yeah, and so they signed up, and I just did my best to just deliver above and beyond. And many of them are like really, really good friends now. Actually, I work with one of the guys who came to my first workshops, now like one of my best friends, and we do workshops together, which is super, super rad. So yeah, after that, man, I just became hooked, and I love it. Yeah, so I've just been traveling over the last 7 years, just doing a lot of in-person workshops.
Amazing. And he's got, not only does he have an Instagram account for himself, but he's got an Instagram account for his Airstream, okay,
Yeah.
which lovingly goes by as the 16-foot Bambi, in terms of a name. And it looks like you've upgraded your Jeep over the years too, huh?
Yeah. There's the blue Jeep I'm in right now. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And so, wow, that is a heck of a stretch in the rig. You must have camping down to an absolute science. I mean, absolute science at this point, right? Routine, where everything goes, how to cook in it, how to live in it, which fascinates the hell out of me, because I love camping too. One of the things that I would ask immediately, and especially looking at your work and having an understanding of it, is like, what's your niche, right? Do you have a niche? Or is it just like literally the most spectacular beauty that the United States has to offer, and even beyond? Because it looks like you've been everywhere, man. I mean, Johnny Cash style.
Johnny Cash style. Oh man, niche I think is really up to other people to decide, you know, where
Hmm.
they think my work shines. You know, I just love taking pictures. I do love astrophotography. I love chasing aurora, and I absolutely love chasing comets or any kind of celestial event. So it's I'd probably say that most people that sign up for workshops or want to learn from me is maybe not just the landscape, but I think they want to learn more of the astrophotography. And like anytime there's a comet, like I just did like an impromptu comet workshop on this last one.
Hmm.
Uh, that was that came in like in the fall, and it was literally like 3 days out, heads up that we were gonna shoot this, and got some like really cool shots of it. So yeah, I think astrophotography is what I really enjoy teaching. Um, Maybe
And
that's my niche.
the workshops currently is the core of the business, right? That's how you're bringing the majority of your income.
Yeah, yep. That's pretty much it. Some brand stuff, you know, here and there, and
Hmm.
just some little like as much passive income, and which of course brought me back onto art storefronts
Yeah,
because I need to create some more passive income, and I want to sell my work. I want to see it on people's walls. I want them to enjoy it. I want them to experience it. I want them to be emotionally connected to some of these images. So yeah.
for sure, for sure. I mean, and I mean, it's it's a very engaging Instagram page to scroll, and that is for doggone sure. I want to get
Thanks.
into selling the work passively and how you found art storefronts in the first place. But what do you how exactly are you marketing the workshops, just out of curiosity, and getting butts and seats for those things?
I think a lot of it is through an email list that I've kind of built over the years. Social
Hmm.
media was my initial. That's how I really got started,
Hmm.
and also teaming up with people. I team up with some really talented photographers, and you know, tapping into each other's network, I think really helps to put butts in those seats
Hmm.
and fingers on those shutter buttons. So that's predominantly the marketing. I'm fortunate. I work with one of the Michael Jordans of photography, Michael Shainbloom, and you know we actually just wrapped up a workshop yesterday. We did a 6 day winter waves road trip that was incredible, and so yeah, I think just like diversifying who you work with, like finding people that you really enjoy working with,
Hmm.
and yeah, it just makes it fun and easier to network with more potential students.
Do you feel like there is an opportunity to bolt a digital class of some kind onto it? Does
Absolutely,
the
yeah.
scouting, yeah, does the scouting these spots and the retouching and the setup, like I wonder if that's not a good avenue to explore too, just because you've already had success in the workshops, and you know you've got wait lists and everything else.
Dude, I've filmed so many tutorials and so many classes, and I've released zero of them.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like another animal, you know. Like there's just so much that you can do, and I think I'm like at that point where like I want to create digital products, and I actually have created digital products, but like finishing them is like that daunting task of like,
Oh God,
man,
I
I've
know.
never done it, and I'm just like, oh, you know, I feel like so many people because we're not wired like I'm wired to create
Yeah.
and that's what I love doing and I love teaching so like all that comes natural for me but when it comes to like marketing and like putting those types of things together like can I just like not work and just take photos you know
Yes.
yeah
You and every artist out there is just like, can I just
yeah
create and somebody else handles everything else, you know?
please
But
yes yes
I do, just based on what I'm seeing, and like, you know, you have the teaching knowledge, okay, and all the nuts and bolts of the uh, tripod setup, location, shutter speed, retouching, all the technical nuts and bolts. But to somebody that probably doesn't understand camping, like the location data that you have too, where to go, where to park, when to hit this
hmm
place, like that's really
yeah
desirable too. I feel like we need to drive you into some sort of studio and lock you in it for 2 weeks just to
oh dude
record the
yeah
video, solid internet, record the screen captures, and get a damn class in the water, because in terms of passive income, in many ways, it's even better than art, because I can see that you're suffering, even with this massive Instagram following, from the same thing that most artists and photographers are suffering from, which means out of the 70,000 followers you have on Instagram, we get 40,000 of them are photographers, right? Which are not the best subjects to buy wall art and are the best subjects to buy digital classes. Which I do strongly encourage you to do. And I'll have some thoughts for you offline on how to literally lock yourself in a place where you can do it, because you have the personality for it too. You just need like a slave driver to lock you in there and be like, just make this happen. And I am getting questions on Instagram about, like, if they want more information about your workshops, just contact you on IG, DM on IG. Is that the best way to find out?
No, the best way, go to my website, the link in my bio on my website. It's weird, like DMs don't work on Instagram for me. I don't know why, but the best way is just drop your email on my website. Like, there's like a little pop-up to join my newsletter, or you can just like hit the contact me up there and drop a message, and then I'll definitely get your email. Like, if you email me, then I'll get it. If you send a DM, it's so weird, man. Instagram, I don't know how to fix that. There's if we don't follow each other, then those DMs don't go through.
You don't know if it comes through and it goes in that weird
it doesn't
tab.
show.
I know.
It doesn't even go in there. It's just like these weird spamming porn stuff that like goes in there. Like, I don't get like legit messages in that for whatever reason. Somehow the porn ones get through, but all the rest don't. I don't know why.
Yeah, Instagram needs to clean up that whole experience. Like, it's a clunky mess. But the pilot thing that I'm suggesting is actually a good hack for that. So we'll talk through that on the other side. But one thing that I see right away, okay, that I said to you when we were warming up, is like, you need to bridge the visual gap. And the way that I always say this, okay, and you probably heard me say this, or maybe you haven't, but it's like, Kenneth, if I hired you to sell knives for me door to door, when you knocked on that door, what would you have in your hands?
Yeah, I have a nice, shiny, sharp knife.
Yeah. So when you have a picture of the knives, you would have to be a pretty damn good salesman, right? You would have to be a really, really good salesman. And so, when and look, I know it's hard because you're traveling the world. It's not like you have space for a giant rolling inventory in Bambi in the Airstream, right?
True.
But what I've learned over my years of doing this, like the physical act of holding the thing and being able to show off the thing and show that it has 3 dimensions and that it's real, it's not just a photo, is more important. It's more important now than it ever has been, because everybody's on Instagram all day long, and on Instagram all day long are beautiful photos just like yours, like amazing, millions of them. And just by virtue of reps and sets and repetition, like, it's the one thing that no one sees. Right. The actual product that I can lust after, that I can focus on. So we got to figure out a way to get you some samples somewhere, shipped on the road, picked up at some sort of random FedEx spot somewhere. But you guys, Kenneth, when we were talking just before the episode started, Kenneth is like, can we make this more of like a working episode? And I want to talk about, everything that I've just done through this Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And so he's going to share that story in a second. But how did you find Art Storefronts originally? And then tell them how long you waited to get your website live, because I love this story too.
I think back in like 1992, I discovered Art Storefronts. No, I don't, dude. It's so long ago that like I don't even remember. I do remember. I had a friend who she had gotten Art Storefronts, and she had told me like, oh, this is the best website. Like, if you want to sell art, like, they do all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, okay. I was still like fairly new. I was probably a couple of years into photography. It was back in 2017. I think I've been a customer since like 16 or 17. And,
just
I paid the big bucks. And then I couldn't figure out how to do all this because I'm not technologically savvy. So I like went through, and my thing was a mess. So I called customer service, kind of cleaned it up, put some stuff on there, wasn't making any sales. Then I put it in hibernation mode for like 6 years, And then recently I brought it back, and I talked to Dude, Berlin was like, I don't know if you know her, I don't know how big the company is, but Berlin, I love her. She is so awesome. So Berlin, if you're listening to this, like, thank you for all your help setting up my, she basically explained how everything worked on art storefronts. So now I'm able to like navigate all through it and do whatever I need to do. Yeah, so I spent some time putting together all my photos. I also write poems that go with every photo. So every photo that I post actually has a poem that was written specifically for. It's just another form of creativity. I'm not using AI to create these poems. Like, these are
Yeah.
just, these are just my retrospective or introspective thoughts put into some rhyming scheme that I enjoy doing. So yeah, I coordinated all those photos or connected them with the poetry on the website. And what was that, like, I don't know, like 6 months ago or so. And
6 months ago.
I finally just did like a launch where I did like the free giveaway. I also included a free one-on-one workshop with that, and that helps to generate a lot of leads, a lot of emails and interests.
Smart.
And
Yeah.
building that email list. But I followed the guide on you, like you guys is yeah, it was super helpful. I just followed that guide like to a T, and then I thought it was pretty successful. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a great launch. But okay, Kenneth just went through his Black Friday, Cyber Monday playbook, right? Which is, driving the traffic to your site, following all the advice that we give them. And this is what we were talking about before he came online, and did that with a decent size email list, right? Like, what size is your email list at now?
Like 1,500.
Yeah. So 1,500 on his email list, 70,000. Okay, on Instagram, and even Mr. Airstream has 4,700 followers, which is a good comment. And the results were suboptimal, subpar, butt kiss, skunked, 0. And so we were talking about that ahead of time, right? And it's like the most difficult thing to begin with, and then I want to get your 2 cents on why you think the results were they were.
Yeah.
You've been in this business for like a while now, right? You've been growing this crazy following. The internet is telling you you're very good at what you do because you're getting a ton of validation. You're teaching these workshops where more and more people are learning about you, and your name is getting out there and everything else. And yet you've had the website up for 6 months. And so it's like, it's deflating on some level, because you're like, I'm really starting to catch my stride in my career, but digital marketing on the website stance, you're 6 months into it. You're just getting going,
Yeah. So I actually shifted from art storefronts a year or two ago. No, 3 years ago. Sorry, 3 years ago, I
Mhm.
opened up a shop for 5 days. I put some stuff on Shopify,
Mhm.
and I had some success. Like, I marketed the hell out of it. So like, I understand how to market this. Like, I
Mhm.
understand that you need to be consecutive for weeks leading up,
Yeah.
and then like build it up, keep on adding more and more stuff to get people hyped, excited. Uh, Add scarcity to the mix, drop some deals, extend them a little bit longer, and just really, really like massage and marinate that list of customers, those people that you've built that trust over the years with. And so I had some success years ago on Shopify, opening up a store for 5 days, extending it 2 days, and I think I sold like 3 or 4 thousand in art in those 5 days. And
Mhm.
then but that was 3 years ago, and like I built much more. So I went into this Black Friday like thinking like, man, this is it. Like, I'm gonna rock this because I'm gonna take what I've learned, and I've isolated 3 photos, and I've made them exclusive to Black Friday. So if you love
Mhm.
them, then you're gonna purchase them, because they're not gonna be on my website after this. I've took the guesswork of like what sizes you need to get. I did 24 by 36. I gave 35% off of the price, so it was even like 250. And Black Friday, I sold none. And I
Yeah.
also, like, just on paper. So then I was like, okay, Small Business Monday, I'm going to sell something, or Small Business Saturday, I'm going to sell something. Nothing. So I was like, crap. All right. So Cyber Monday, we need to switch things up. I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to add 3 more sizes that are more affordable, because 250 is a lot that maybe people are not willing to part with. So I put a 12 by 18 that was $69. Now I'm in that price range that people would be like, all right, I'm going to support this guy's work. Like, man, he's been hammering this down. I really love this one photo. and I made 0 sales, 0.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, I sold something else to a friend, who, thanks Allison, she bought one of my prints. Like, I sold a couple other things, but
Hmm.
nothing from the Black Friday.
Yeah.
And yeah, so actually, like, I'm open to. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it was that I wasn't holding the art, but I did a lot of talking.
It'll make a massive difference. It makes a massive difference. I don't know what it is about like the alchemy of it being the actual product, right? And you need to break up what you have on them. It's like, if I just scan this, and you always have to be thinking in your head, like, no one has any time. It's all social media. We're all moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour with our thumbs, right? And it's like, if I move through yours at 1,000,000 miles an hour, the photos are so good, it's almost hard to believe that this is an individual account. It feels more like one of these Instagram curators. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They'll like curate like the most amazing images from like all over the world, because you have so many just absolutely stunning photos. And you got to break up the visual pattern of that and get into a scenario where, one, you're showing the art on the wall, even if it's room mock-ups, right? You want to, ideally it's the real wall, but if it's room mock-ups, great. And then sometimes you holding it, and I can guarantee you, even just that little subtle shift, even if it makes something like that, makes it in every 7th or 8th image. And I know it's kind of a pain in the ass, because obviously you have to get the work printed, and then you have to hold it, and you have to get it shipped to you, and all of that. It will fundamentally change the perception. That's number one. Number two, you can't beat yourself up, because the art market 3 years ago versus now, night and day difference. Like, this was a rough year for everybody. We're independent of like the fact that the stock market is absolutely ripping, and this data that's come out of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, about how a larger percentage of commerce is switching away from retail to online. Dude, inflation is ripping. Inflation is ripping. Prices are out of control. Gas is out of control. Rent is out of control. So, no matter what like the media says, or what like the landscape out there is, like, it was a hard year. It was a hard year. So you give yourself a mulligan on it. But one of the things that he and I were talking about is, like, there is a service on Instagram and Facebook. There has been for quite some time. It's called ManyChat, which essentially gives you the opportunity to have a chat bot that works via comments, via stories, via direct messages. And when you have 70,000 followers like he does, it's crazy what you can do with it. So I told him, we have a service internally at Art Storefronts. It's a really hard thing to do, because it's one of those things, like, if you have small follower accounts, it doesn't do anything for you. If you have large follower accounts, you could seriously be cooking with gas. Like, you leveraging it and doing print giveaways, you could probably capture 500 to 700 emails a week doing it, right? Which is a lot. You could have a very robust email list in a very short period of time. So we'll experiment with that. We'll call this episode 1 of this particular series, and I'll bring him back after he's gone through this service. We'll run it for you sometime in Q1 when things quiet down, because obviously it's the holidays and the start of the year and all that craziness. But like, sometime late January or February, we'll run it, and absolute game changer, because it gets people, without going too far into detail, like, the number one thing to do on a social media platform, the number one thing the social media platform wants you to do, is not send anybody off the social media platform, because it's war. Instagram's at war with Facebook. Facebook's at war with Twitter. X is at war with LinkedIn. They're all at war with YouTube. They all hate each other, right? Like, all they're looking to do is have nobody ever leave their platform. And so what ManyChat does is it operates as a chatbot inside the Instagram DM box. So when you compare, like, hey, go to the link in my bio, leave the social network, then go to a website. And by the way, Instagram has its own web browser that by design gives you a crappy web experience, because they don't want you leaving. They don't want you doing it. So the fact that you keep them all on platform completely changes the conversion rate. But for you, as I look at it, I feel strongly that if I put some questions in the bot, and we'll do this, right? And you and I'll make a bet before it happens, like, what percentage of Kenneth's audience are actually photographers? It is not going to be a small number. It is going to be an extremely large number, right? It's going to be like 30, 40, 50. It could even be 60%. But it's good to know that, right? Like, one of the things that I love about guys like you is, like, you've done the hardest thing which is build an audience of 73,000. Okay. Which is more, like I said, than 95% of the people that are on Instagram, maybe 92%. It's somewhere in the high 90s. So you've already got validation that your work is amazing, that there's something here. So now you have to work like hell at figuring out what is the best product that's going to sell them. Right. And
Sure.
even if we go into this and it's like your audience, and especially the way you've been marketing on Instagram, you've attracted a ton of photographers. Well, guess what? A ton of photographers would buy that damn course because they can't go in the
Right.
workshop.
Yeah.
And some percentage will buy the workshop, right? And if we ask the
Right.
questions in the bot and we find out who they are, then we can start routing them appropriately, tagging them appropriately. So I think that'll be really, really fun, really amazing. Yeah, just dude, you got the most interesting man in the world vibe. So what are you gonna what is the long-term plan in terms of you're on the road, you're hitting all these places? Do you even have a home base, or is it like no, you're in the Airstream and it's wherever you park is home?
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, I don't have a home base. I don't have a mailing address. I mean, I've been 7 years just kind of meandering around, going where the weather is good for this guy, making sure that he's comfortable, I'm comfortable. And right now we're on the Oregon coast. I think I mentioned that earlier, where it's wet and wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, there's no like, I just kind of just go with the flow here. And I've just been really actively building my business over the last couple years. So, I went through some highs and some lows, and now I'm like back in building mode the last like 2-3 years. So it's yeah, it's really important for me to get all that on track so that it's just a well-oiled machine that can exponentially grow, and I can just like connect with more people. My passion is the teaching. So I know that I need to spend more time putting together these tutorials and these online courses, because like you said earlier, like not everybody can afford like that high ticket item to come out in person, but they want to learn, and I want to be able to cater to all different people that maybe can't afford to come out but really want to learn and expand their creativity.
100%. And we have another customer that is like, his following is obscene because he's like a Planet Earth BBC PhD in ornithology guy. And I hammered him. I'm like, man, you've got to do one. You've got to do one. And he locked himself up, knocked it out. I'll send it to you after the fact. And he usually photographs birds, so it's all around how to photograph birds and how to go through that. And it's the same story you are. It's like you did the hard work of building an audience. The audience loves what you do. Now you have to just keep taking shots to figure out how to monetize them. And in terms of price points, like, it's amazing when you have an audience like this on Instagram, that you've got to have the price points for everyone. You've got to have the art in there and the merch in there at 0 to 100. Then 100 to 1,000, your prints get a little bit bigger. Maybe at 1,000, maybe over 1,000, the workshops start, right? And then you could also throw the courses in there, and then so you've got sort of the 0 to 5,000, and anybody that comes in and loves the work and gets attached to it, there'll be a ton of it. But I encourage you to like get a little bit more of you, get a little bit more of the dog, so that I usually say, if I hit your profile and I can't learn something about you in a matter of seconds, I'm gone. I'm out of there, And you, like all photographers, at least on your Instagram page, like hiding behind the lens, right? And it's hard because you're like, I don't want to post anything about myself, or I don't want to get super into it. You got a couple of reels that are really hidden, and this was your Black Friday, Cyber Monday stuff, I bet, right? I'm holding it up now. You should be able to say it.
Oh, I don't remember what that was. Maybe. I don't know what that might have been a live with Shane Bloom for the Waves.
Oh yeah, Q&A live. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're using the lives too, which is great.
Oh yeah. I try to go live at least once a month, to do like a Q&A or do something fun, and just like
I want to challenge you to do that once a week.
Once a week. Okay. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
And then
I enjoy going. I like that.
Yeah, it's super fun. And it's like, let's be honest, you've got downtime.
Yeah. I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
You can't just walk out to the local bar or whatever because you're in the middle of the wilderness, which is glorious. So yeah, I mean, again, you got 73,000. So it's like you press the button and you're talking to hundreds, you know, potentially, depending on what time of day it is and, you know, the Instagram algorithms and this, that, and the other. But
Sure.
love it, Kenneth. Challenge you to get some prints in hand. Challenge you to go live once a week. We're going to come back and we'll report back to what he's done on the ManyChat thing and watch what happens to his business when he shifts to letting people know, here's the beautiful thing that I have for sale, and holding it up. Okay. And you know, is able to keep everybody on platform. And we might even try some extra trickery of selling some things in the bot, which is it's another thing that you can do, and I haven't really experimented. I usually ask people, you haven't been on art storefronts for that long, technically. I mean, working on it. But if there's one thing that we can improve and one thing we can make way better, just one thing, what would it be? Trying to get down to your biggest gripe or your biggest, like, oh man, I wish I had.
So I think when I shifted over from Shopify, because that's what I was using for my workshops, so now I use WeTravel and Art Storefront. So those are like my two platforms that I integrate together. My issue now is that people were finding me on Shopify pretty easily through Google, and I have a lot less. For some reason, like, people are not finding me. So I'm not getting someone random looking up a wave workshop and seeing stuff that's on Art Storefront or WeTravel. So figuring out how to increase the SEO. I don't know if having Art Storefronts in the beginning kind of like
usually
is like a ding on the search.
Usually pay a little bit of a price when you switch from one to other, but then it'll normalize. We'll have somebody in support look and make sure you have all your settings correct there. I imagine you do. Okay. It can be helpful to resubmit a sitemap to Google, but we don't need to get into the technical details of that on this. I'll get someone in support to help you with that.
Cool. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So that would be my only is just give me that exposure, baby.
Yep. We're gonna get it. So you guys definitely follow Kenneth. He's KRL_photo on IG. He's got links in there for all the things. You can follow his adventures. He's soon going to be holding up art at some of the most majestic places in this entire country and beyond. And Kenneth, huge thanks for your time. Thanks everyone else for listening. And everybody have a great rest of your day. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me.